A locked iron box, 3 coded papers, and whispers of a hidden fortune. The Beale ciphers have puzzled treasure hunters, scholars, and cryptographers for almost 2 centuries. 1 message was solved, 2 remain unbroken, and the mystery still divides people between those who believe and those who call it a hoax, the birth of the Beale legend. The story begins with a pamphlet published in 1885 titled The Beale Papers. It told the tale of a man named Thomas Jefferson Beale. In the 1820s, Beale and a group of explorers supposedly discovered a mine of incredible wealth near Santa Fe, New Mexico. They gathered thousands of pounds of gold and silver, plus jewels valued at thousands of dollars. Not wanting to leave their treasure unprotected, Beale carried it eastward, across mountain passes and wagon trails, finally burying it in Bedford County, Virginia. He locked the details into 3 coded texts and placed them in a strongbox. That box was given to an innkeeper in Lynchburg named Robert Morris. Beale instructed Morris not to open it unless he failed to return within 10 years. Beale never came back. When Morris eventually broke open the box in 1845, he found 3 sheets of paper filled with numbers, along with a letter. The ciphers, the letter explained, described the treasure's location, its contents, and the names of those to whom it should be left. But Morris had no key to solve them, the one cipher that cracked. For years, Morris tried and failed to decipher the codes. Later, he handed them to a friend, who is never named in the pamphlet. That anonymous friend made a breakthrough with the second cipher, often called C2. He discovered that the Declaration of Independence was the key. Each number in the cipher corresponded to a word in the document, and the first letter of each word spelled out the message. Using this system, the message revealed details about the treasure: over 1,000 pounds of gold, more than 3,000 pounds of silver, and jewels valued at $13,000. The letter even described the treasure as lying in Bedford County, about 4 miles from a place called Buford's, buried 6 feet beneath the ground in a stone vault. This was a remarkable breakthrough, but it left a frustrating problem. The same method did not work on the other 2 ciphers. Was Beale real? The identity of Thomas J. Beale is one of the most disputed elements of the legend. The 1810 United States Census lists 2 men with that name, one in Connecticut and one in New Hampshire. But that census is missing data from 7 states, 1 territory, the District of Columbia, and 18 Virginia counties. If Beale lived in one of those areas, there would be no trace of him. The 1820 census lists 3 men named Thomas Beale living in Louisiana, Tennessee, and Virginia. The Virginia entry includes a K as a middle initial. Once again, the census data is incomplete, missing 3 states and 1 territory. Another clue is a Thomas Beale recorded in the St. Louis Postmaster's List of 1820. According to the Beale Papers, Beale sent a letter from St. Louis in 1822. The 1820 census also recorded 11 men named Thomas Beale, with most in Maryland and others in Georgia, Ohio, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. Before 1850, the U.S. Census only listed heads of households, with other members left unnamed. If Beale was living under someone else's roof, his name would not have appeared. These gaps leave researchers uncertain whether Beale was real or if the name was invented. Poe and the authorship debate. Some have argued that Edgar Allan Poe himself wrote the pamphlet. Poe had a well-known interest in codes. In the 1840s, he published notices in Alexander's weekly Express Messenger, inviting readers to submit ciphers for him to solve. In 1843, he used a cryptogram as the key plot device in his story The Gold Bug. From 1820, Poe lived in Richmond, Virginia, the same region where Beale was supposedly active. He even studied at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville for a brief period in 1826 before leaving for Boston the following year. Some theories claim Poe left the material with his sister, Rosalie Mackenzie Poe, who later handed out Poe-related memorabilia until her death in 1874. However, researchers point out major problems with this idea. Poe died in 1849, long before the Beale Papers appeared in 1885. The pamphlet also refers to the American Civil War, which began in 1861, 12 years after Poe's death. Stylometric analysis conducted by William Poundstone for his 1983 book Biggest Secrets compared Poe's known prose to the pamphlet. The results showed clear differences in grammar and style, making it unlikely Poe was the author. Statistical clues in the numbers. Another way to test the authenticity of the Beale ciphers is through statistical analysis. Researchers have examined the last digits of the numbers in the texts. If the numbers were random, the digits would appear with equal frequency. Instead, some digits appear more often than others across all three ciphers. When analysed in a base relatively prime to 10, the unsolved ciphers suddenly show a uniform distribution of last digits. The solved cipher, C2, does not. Instead, it retains the kind of uneven, complex distribution expected from a real encoded message. This pattern suggests that C1 and C3 may not be genuine enciphered texts at all. Instead, they may have been constructed by a human in base 10, a common issue when people try to invent random numbers. This analysis raises the possibility that two of the three ciphers are fraudulent: Obsession and The Hunt. Despite these doubts, people have been chasing the treasure for well over a century. In the late 1800s, James B. Ward, the man who published the Beale Papers, warned readers not to waste too much of their time, but treasure hunters ignored the caution. The search has led to arrests for trespassing and unauthorized digging, including cases in the 1990s when groups from Pennsylvania were caught in Virginia. In the late 1980s, treasure hunters even conducted a dig on Porter's Mountain with the landowner's permission. They agreed to split any treasure 50-50. What they found instead were Civil War artifacts, which were valuable enough to cover their expenses but did not match the promise of Beale's gold. Ken Bauman's claim. In more recent years, Ken Bauman, a retired railroad detective from Indiana, became convinced he had cracked the first cipher, C1. Bauman began his hunt on July 30, 2005, after first learning about the Beale codes. With a background in law enforcement, he prided himself on out-of-the-box thinking. He applied a new method to C1. Instead of using the first letters from the Declaration of Independence, as was done with C2, he tried the last letters. This gave him a meaningless string of characters. But then he reversed the order and uncovered the phrase, "Erfen du red knee." Bauman interpreted this as significant. Er can mean dig or plough. A fen is a marsh. Red knee refers to a species of tarantula. A tarantula also appears in the first sentence of Poe's The Gold Bug. To Bauman, the cipher pointed directly to Poe's story, which he believed revealed the treasure's hiding place, Mount Pleasant, an 18th century mansion on the banks of the Schuylkill River in Philadelphia. He sought permission to search the building, now part of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, but was denied. Still, Bauman insists the treasure lies beneath Mount Pleasant and remains convinced the Beale mystery is real. So where does that leave us? The Beale ciphers are a mixture of hard fact, questionable evidence, and enduring mystery. We know that despite all this, the story still has enough pull to send treasure hunters into the hills to inspire television episodes, books, and even modern statistical research. What do you think? Is the Beale treasure out there, waiting to be uncovered? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.